Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this? We may, or yes, thank you. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 19th of July, and it is a Tuesday. So, we've been sitting here watching these markets have hardly any volume all day. But I have an idea. I checked to see what tomorrow is, but let me double check what today is with these earnings. Oh yes, this afternoon after the market closes at 4 p.m. Keep in mind, futures trade until 4:15. But after the market closes is Microsoft earnings. Tomorrow it's going to be Intel and Qualcomm, and those are pretty good movers also. So be sure and check the Apex website news tab. I went ahead and bookmarked that for quick reference, because particularly when markets are low volume, it's summertime, the earnings are coming out, we're right in the middle of it. This will go on for another, I don't know, 2 weeks for sure, I think into 3 weeks. And so there's a lot of companies that announce their earnings, lots and lots and lots. But we only need to really be aware of the big ones that have the highest probability of moving the market. And one of the advantages of trading futures is that extra 15 minutes at the close when they announce their earnings at 4:01 or 4:02 or whatever it is. The futures can move, and you can. And sometimes it's a really good move. So you can sometimes grab some easy ticks on that. Just depends, but it's something to be aware of. Particularly, I don't like to be in any kind of a trade past 5 minutes after, because especially if there's no volume, getting out of your trade is the issue. It's not trying to take a trade, but if you have one on that you've been nursing along. So anyway, this morning, all these U.S. indices are literally in lockstep. Nobody wants to take the lead, so they've all been on the same page, and it's really been people that have grabbed any significant ticks off of this have done so, if you notice, very early in the morning, between about 7 and 9. And there was volume then too. Keep in mind these indices are traded in Europe, and they're finishing up their morning session about the time we're getting up over here. The dollar went up today. We've had the dollar be not hugely strong, but at least it's been in a pretty good trend up. And the significance of that is that both the 6A and the 6E have trended down, and the Canadian dollar also, 6C. So we've got the VIX trading right now at about 1260. Yesterday it got down as low as 1244, and that is really low. The lowest we've had it in the last year has been 10 something. And that was just kind of unbelievable. That's really low. But if you notice, one of the reasons that we use this to kind of gauge where we are with the possibility of trending trades in these indices is to use that VIX. And when it's very, very low, there's just not a heck of a lot going on. The same thing is with the commodities this morning. Crude oil. The time to trade crude oil this is typical of the summer, is about 6:30 or 7ish to, I don't know, maybe 9:30. And after that, if you look on my chart, I love to use these range boxes, the expected range boxes, because not only do they tell you the expected range, but they're a very good indicator of the time. And right here, the 12 tick is set to, these are 1 hour range boxes, and it took 1 hour between here and here to form a half a bar. This is insane. And it's not much better on the 10-minute. If you go back, of course, if I'd make that bigger, you could probably see it easier. But the reason I like the expected range boxes, especially for crude oil, is that the bus drivers really like the top and the bottom of those range boxes. They if they're going on a northbound run, that makes a great place to look to either tighten up your stops or to take your profit. And the same going southbound. It also gives you a hint. We were talking yesterday about clues. This is kind of like a game of Clue. You're looking for all the clues that'll lead you to the right spot. And if you look at crude oil right now, these range boxes they're not giving you any indication whatsoever that they've got a preference for this to go up or down. It's just kind of hovering along here. Right, if you notice, over settlement and the red ice. So the volume is just step down and step down and step down. These are really tough kind of charts to trade off of when the market's like that. Of course, on the other hand, the flip side of that is tomorrow we will have crude oil inventory. And if you recall last week when we had inventory, we had about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 bars, 15 to 18, 20 bars on the 12-tick chart form, all at 10:30. So there is a tremendous amount of contracts going in and out of the system when it does that, and it's moving so fast. Anyway, let's see. I didn't see anything else. I've started to pay attention to. I don't see it so much. Well, maybe right here is an example of this on crude oil. Is when this 8 EMA and the 50 cross. That can be a real nice indicator, or at least it's a hint to tell you that when it did that right here, you got an MVP arrow, you got the cross of these two right here, went right on through settlement. And yes, it bounced around a little bit. It got down here to this magnet, and it even went down settlement. Keep in mind what Daryl says on several of those tapes is when markets move one direction or the other, they like to go back towards settlement by the end of the day. They will frequently try to do that. And I hope everybody is on the September contract of crude oil if that's what if you're looking for any crude oil trades, which I'm not until tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have, there's some UK news at 4:30 in the morning. Some economic numbers come out. The U.S. is not there's really not anything in the U.S. until 10:30 when the crude oil inventories come out. We have been having, I like to track the rig counts for both the U.S. and Canada, and they have been coming up, I don't know, every week for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and now they're starting to pick back up. There were several, maybe 10 weeks, 11, 12 weeks in a row. The rig count was coming down and down and down from earlier this year. So operators will not produce crude oil when it's not profitable. So one of the things they do is either cap off wells or simply shut the production down to a very minor amount, so they're not selling production in a low market. The fiasco in Turkey last Friday, I expected to see more movement in crude oil because that's a significant shipping area through there for Brent and the oil that's going into Europe and to European refineries. But they seem to get that under control fast enough that it wouldn't have any effect on the shipping. So tomorrow we'll see what the crude oil inventory brings us, and then on Thursday, let's see, Thursday we'll have 8:30 news, and I think on Friday, Friday we've got Canadian coming out at 8:30. So this, typically in July and August, this is a slow time. The best opportunities for trading tend to be early in the morning, a little bit earlier than. So if you're sitting here waiting and watching, keep in mind in New York it's lunchtime right now. And if you're waiting and waiting and waiting for a trade, you may have something better to do with your time. And if this is trade time allocated for you, I would suggest you use it for practicing in market replay or going back over videos and mark your charts. I cannot emphasize enough to mark your charts. Lori and I are both chart marking freaks, and it's because it has helped us so much. You just would not believe how valuable that is. And speaking of Lori, I believe she's going to be in the conference room, and she'll put a link here, I think, in a minute. So here's the link to the conference room, and that's a great place to go and learn, get in there and get some one-on-one help, some personal help, and I find that very, very valuable. So the downside of that thing is you have to log out, get out of this room and go into that room, and then to get back in this room, you have to go back to the website and get back in here. You don't have to log out? Oh, good. Lori says you don't have to log out. It'll take you over there. I think you just can't be in both of them at the same time. So you do have to log out of the conference room.